Okay, so here's the state of affairs. So I read 20 books in July and August. Some of them I pirated, but let me just show you the physical copies. Oh, why did I put the paperbacks at the bottom? Yo, I might need help. I think this is the most books I've read in 2 months since probably middle school. And I tried to film this video before, and then I got really sad. So, not because of me being super literate, but because of other things, aka my breakup. But now I feel a bit better, and I feel ready to take on this monster of a list. So I'm just gonna get started. First book I read was The South Wind by Alexandria Warwick, and I actually had never heard of this series, but it's an interconnected standalone fantasy series, and I gave this 2 out of 5. It was just not for me. I don't think interconnected standalones are for me in general, but I just think with fantasy it doesn't really work, because if it's an interconnected standalone series, that should mean you can read any of them, which that's what I did. I haven't read the other 2, but instead it just felt super disjointed, because it's almost like I'm expected to know things that I don't, which doesn't make any sense, because it's supposed to be a standalone, so I'm supposed to be taught things, but there was a lot of world building that I felt like I was missing out on, and there was just something off with it. So this is not a good start to July. But I also found it at a used bookstore, and it had just come out like a couple months before, so it was a great steal because it was like so much cheaper. Retail would have been like $27 Canadian, and I got this for like $9 maybe, so it's fine. I might donate it because I'm never gonna reread it. And then I read Serpent and the Wings of Night. Now I bought this book in May, and I started it, read like 50 pages, and then like senior year literally immediately caught up to me. But then I came back to it in July, and I actually ended up loving it. I gave it 4 out of 5, and I fully annotated it. I actually really enjoyed it. I loved the trials aspect, and I was actually kind of shocked at some of the elements, which was surprising to me. I know this book will compare to the Hunger Games, and I mean, let's be real, nothing's beating the Hunger Games, and this is definitely a romantic-y, less deep version. It didn't have that much political intrigue like it clearly thinks it does, but it doesn't. But there was one part of like the trials that was like super reminiscent of the Hunger Games, and I honestly had a lot of fun with that part of it. So, you know, like, could have been worse. But I did read the sequel, and we'll get to that. So eventually. And then I read City of Bones. Now I was influenced by Emmy Reeds to pick this up, because I've had City of Bones and City of Ashes on my bookshelf for years. I thrifted them. I knew that they were popular in the 2010s, but it was never one that I got to. And after I read this, I was like, dang, I would have liked this in middle school. But there's something about this one that's different from the other books that were popular at the time, because it's almost a little more risque. Like, they talk about a little more like teenager topics, you know what I mean? So a bit different, but honestly I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 out of 5. There's definitely, I am not like a modern fantasy enjoyer. I don't really like it when the fantasies are set in the modern day and whatever, but I can understand the hype and why this had everybody in a chokehold, and I am super excited to read The Infernal Devices because Emmy Reeds, who's also reading these for the first time, she really liked these, but she loved The Infernal Devices, and I think I would like it more because it's set in the 1800s, not in the modern day, so I might actually like that more. And after City of Bones, I read, oh shoot, I left it on the shelf. I read this literally at the airport, and that is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. This book was so good. This was my first Vonnegut. I have been wanting to read this book for years and years and years, but the indigo cover is so ugly now. So when I found this at the used bookstore, which I've been waiting to find a used copy with a different cover, I was so happy because like this is so much better than that one with the skull. I was just not vibing with that. And this, I loved this book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I definitely recommend. I love that it's shorter. 2 more of his books, so I'm hoping to read those. Next, we're getting to the period where I was on vacation. So I was reading a lot of books on my phone, and the next one I read, I started on the airplane and then I read in my hotel a lot, and that was Silver Elite by Danny Francis, which is that big new dystopian book that came out, and I needed to see what the hype was. I was like, is this actually good? Is it gonna be a Divergent ripoff? And honestly, I didn't hate it. I actually kind of liked it. But it definitely followed more of like the book talk trend, kind of. Like it was like if you took a dystopian book from the 2010s, like Divergent-esque, and then inputted the Xaden Violet, Fourth Wing, Enemies to Lovers, like modern buzzword style romance into it. And I think that it was super fun, but it didn't have a lot of substance. So I think I'm going to continue the series, and if the next books have more substance, I might actually enjoy them more, because I was kind of enjoying the idea of the world. It's just that I wanted more actual social commentary from it, which I know is hard to get from a book talk book, but it does have potential. I definitely don't think it's the worst book I've ever read, because a lot of people on BookTube were hating on it. I had a fun time, and you know what, that's what it's all about. Some books are not meant to be taken so seriously. Following that, I have my first DNF of the year, and that was What Lies Beyond the Veil, and that might be one of the worst books I've ever read. That is an example of book talk gone bad, because it had no world building. I stopped it at the 50% mark, and right then was when the characters sort of about to get freaky, and I realized, why am I even reading this? I chose it because it was a fast read, but at the same time, like, I was hoping there would at least be some substance. Like, I was just so lost, and it was really not a good book. Like, might be one of the worst fantasies I've ever read, because the writing, it was just, no. The world building, zero, nowhere, nada. And then I read a physical copy, but I don't have it because it's my brother's, of The War of the Worlds. So as you can see now, I'm kind of starting to get into a lull of very mid books, because Silver Elite was 3 out of 5. What Lies Beyond the Veil was 1 out of 5. This one was 3 out of 5. And this book is called The Birth of Science Fiction. And my review was, The Birth of Science Fiction? Yeah, we can tell. Because it does seem like the first one, because it really wasn't that good. I wasn't super invested. It was very much like a, this happened, then this happened, then this happened kind of story. Like, it wasn't really taking you on a journey with the character or anything. It was just telling you what happened to the world. So, I don't know. I wasn't super into it. And it took me a little longer to read than a book normally would because I was getting bored, but I can see why it's critically acclaimed the way it is, just because it's one of the first ones. Like, it was a new idea at the time, but now that there's so many other better science fiction books out there, I can say with confidence that that is not one of the best ones. So yeah. After The War of the Worlds, I read the newest Lynn Painter book, which this is my third Lynn Painter book. I read Better Than the Movies, 4 out of 5, The Do-Over, 4 out of 5, and then I read Maid for Each Other was the newest one, and that was a 3 out of 5. Still in this lull of not very good books. I had fun with it. It was super short, and it's not a book that I've retained it really much from. It was a cute romance that I wasn't attached to the characters at all. So, you know, like a good romance will have me invested in the characters and care about the characters and be invested in the romance. And a bad romance, I'll read it and I'll be like, I mean, I can know these people in real life and not really care about them. So, I am jealous though that she was a maid and she fell in love with a billionaire, so.
You know, good for her, I guess. But it never happened in real life, so.
And then I read a very hyped book talk book that was in the week of the Dramione, where the 2 Dramione fanfiction books that were made into actual books came out. I forget what the other one's called, but the one I read is Rose and Chains, and that one was originally a book, AO3 book called The Auction, I think. And what I didn't expect going into this was that it was going to be so long, yet nothing happens, but everything happens. And I gave this a 2 out of 5. And I might read the next one just to see what happens. However, the style of world building that the book was written in, because it was originally fanfiction and then it was translated to a book that people could actually buy, there was some more world building and editing that needed to be done, because the new concept that they switched to, the author, whatever, was not the worst thing I've ever read in terms of magic system, but it was just super underdeveloped. And it's the kind of thing where they tell you something and they expect you to know. And it's like, yeah, I would have known this if I was reading the fanfiction version, but I don't know this new world you've constructed to replace it. That you've just thrown in heart magic and what was the other one? Mind magic, like, and then there's like mind magic versus heart magic, racism and stuff like that. And it just needed more backstory. It's just like, it's not even, actually scratch that. It's not even like the backstory that we needed more of. It was just like the way that the world was explained that just felt like fanfiction. You know what I mean? You know? Whatever. And then I came home from my trip and I got back to reading a lot of physical books. So as soon as I got back, I read the next City of Bones, which is City of Ashes. And I thought this was better than the first one. I gave it 0.5 more. It was entertaining me, but it's still not my favorite. And I don't own the third one. I went to the thrift store, tried to find it, but I couldn't find it. So hopefully I can find the third one, because I might buy the Infernal Devices, but I want to just thrift the third one of this, because it's not really worth buying full price, because these are always there. So this one was a little more fun. I'm still wondering really what's happening between this step-sibling stuff. I knew that was going to happen going into it, but I completely forgot that it was going to be that bad. So It's just so unserious. Like, I actually can't. But otherwise, I had fun with this. And I will be continuing in this universe because I really like universes where there's multiple series and they're all interconnected. I think that's really fun. I prefer a long series to a short series because I just love found family and I love getting to know characters. So that's why I'm happy if a fantasy series is not a trilogy and is in fact like six, seven, books. And then, then I read the sequel to The Serpent and the Wings Night because, you know, I'm just on that sequel grind. And I started annotating this. I got basically 50 pages in and annotating, and I went, I have a feeling I'm gonna regret annotating this book if I keep doing that. So I stopped, and I would have definitely regretted it because this book was not very good. I don't know what happened between the first and second book, but this one just did not hit at all. I wasn't enjoying it. I was pretty bored. The amount of times she passes out, the amount of times he says the same thing. That's my girl. And this book, you know, like I was giving these books a chance because I hate occult, like I hate vampires and stuff like that. I was giving them a chance, and now never gonna read a vampire romance again because you ruined it for me. Yeah, you ruined it. I'm never giving another book series that has vampires a chance again. So yeah, and the worst part about it is that the whole point was the main character was supposed to go on this journey of going like making a secret alliance with the male main character and then secretly destroying him from the inside. That lasted like one chapter and she immediately just fell back in love with him. And I was like, girl, get up. If Girl Get Up was a book. Still, this one was not it. And I gave it 2 out of 5. So now we haven't had a 5 out of 5 in a while. And I was starting to lose faith in literature, and I was starting to lose hope. And then I read a book that I got on vacation. Miss Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. This book was one of those classics that you read and you realize, damn, people have always thought this way, you know? Like, I'm not alone in my thoughts. Like, I'm not weird for thinking these things. Like, people have been thinking this for hundreds of years. That's the kind of book this is. I mean, it's not hundreds of years old. It's from 1923. But 100 years ago, women were still going through the same suffering. Women were always emotionally in tune with their emotions, thinking deeply, searching unrequited love. They were always thinking that way, but they were never fully appreciated for it. And now that women are able to share their stories and stuff, it's a bit different. But this one was so great. There were so many good quotes, good moments. I loved that it was kind of like a vignette style. I loved that it just hopped from mind to mind. It felt like just this perfect style for this sort of book. And the way that everything interconnected, I thought was just perfect. And it was such a good read. And I will be rereading this. Also, it smells so good. And also, I love these Penguin Modern Classics with like a blue spine. That's my favorite version of the Penguin books. Yeah, and I did put some tabs in this one, but I didn't like write anything on the pages. It just didn't feel right. I did the same thing with The Bell Jar, which is one of my favorite books of all time, where I tabbed it, but I didn't write anything. So it's just nice to be able to go back to your favorite quotes. Oh, another book I forgot. I might have to just redo this stack so I can really show the glory of all these books because I forgot multiple of them. We got The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey whatever. Don't know his name. Oh, also I gave this 5 out of 5. And I gave this 4 out of 5. I thought this was good. Like, I thought it was a great book. However, it's not a book that I'll be thinking about or recommending to people. Like, it's a book I can appreciate as a good book, but it's not a book that's gonna stick with me in any way. And I guess that's just because it's the romance perspective. I understand that's the whole point, but I really liked a lot of the imagery it gave me. But I do understand that a lot of it was romanticization, if you know what I mean. Like, through the men's lens, they were romanticizing the girls to a heavy degree. And we'll never truly know what their lives are like. That's the mystique of them. But then at the other, like, on the other side of the coin, you could say also, the mystique of them was created by the boys who were so obsessed with them. There could have never been really any mystique, and they were just completely romanticizing these girls who, you know, didn't want to die. They just wanted out of that house. And then, so clearly now we're getting to the part where I'm doing like a TBR takedown. Like, this I've had on my list for years. This book, Ace of Spades, I've also had for years, and unfortunately I really wanted to like this one, but I really just did not think it was very good. It talked about so many hard topics: racism, sexual assault, cults, and gender identity, abuse, all these things, but the writing felt so rudimentary for the topics that it was talking about. And what was another book that I said that about? Oh yes, The Celestial Wife. That was in my last reading wrap-up, and that book also had the same problem where it was talking about abuse and sexual abuse and just very serious things, and it just didn't have the level of maturity in the writing that it needed. That's how I felt about this. And it also just, I don't know, I did appreciate some of the character dialogue at times, but it just felt kind of out of tune with reality. So I wasn't a huge fan. I gave it 2 out of 5. I really did want to like it. But then we have something that's unheard of. I had 5 stars in a no, I didn't. I had 3 5 stars in a row. The first one being One Golden Summer. Now, I've only ever rated 2 romance books 5 stars in my whole life. This one and Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So this is officially my second favorite romance book of all time. And I read this at the lake, which was perfect because her books are perfect for the lake. I read this at the lake in like 24 hours. And then when I came back from the lake, I immediately took my tabs out and completely tabbed it. Like, I was like, this needs to be tabbed. Also, can we appreciate how perfect they match the cover? I just got new tabs and I'm so excited. Sorry. Anyway, but this one was great. If I'm gonna recommend one of her romances, it's gotta be this, because I've read what was it called? This Summer Will Be Different, and that was in my last book video as well. And it wasn't great because I got really disinterested in the characters, but this one, there was something about the character dynamic. The male main character was super sarcastic, funny, but also very thoughtful. I loved it, and I really liked the female protagonist as well. The fact that she was a photographer and stuff, it just, I don't know, it was perfect to me, and the setting was perfect, the vibes were there. Perfect, 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 perfect. Then I reread Fourth Wing. Now, I can't deny that I love this book. I know I gave it 4 out of 5 the first time I read it, but man, like, it just keeps getting better. And to those who say it's basic and not that good, I just beg the question, what other book is doing it like this? What other book has, like, a good romance, in my opinion? I think I like the romance, not in Iron Flame, but in Fourth Wing and Onyx Storm, I like the romance between them. I like the aspect of the dragons. I like that it's at a school. I like that there's powers, but it's not like a cult. A cult, not a space cult. I like that it's cutthroat, but it still has world building. It doesn't lack substance. Gonna be honest, I don't think any other dragon romances are doing it like her. So I just ate this book up the third time around. It's just so much fun to read. And Liam, love my life. I loved him even more. He reminds me of someone who's now gone from my life. But then I read, this was 4.5, but I'm going to say 5 stars because that's what I gave it on Goodreads. Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I tabbed the hell out of this one as well. This is my mom's favorite book of all time, and I knew that I had to read it eventually. And for some reason, she had 2 copies. She doesn't know how, but she had 2. So I asked her if I could annotate one, and she said yes. And oh, they mean so much to me. I know that people have a problem with the no quotations thing, but honestly, 1, I didn't even notice, and 2, I just think it makes her writing seem so intimate, and it just makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm being brainwashed by Sally Rooney, but it just makes sense, and it was so much fun. And so I genuinely love her. I don't know if I'm going to read her other books, just because the reason I read this book is because of the premise. Her other books, I don't think the premise really intrigues me as much, so I probably won't read them. But this one, oh, it tore my heart to pieces. Here's the thing, though. The ending in the book versus the show made it seem like a way bigger deal, the ending, than the book did. The book felt like they could come back together. The show felt like they never were going to. The show felt like the end of the world. This felt like there's still hope, you know? So, oh, it was so good. I loved it. I thought the intimacy of being known. I got one more physical book. I DNF'd this book. I got it for free. It's a 2010s thing, fantasy-ish. I hate books where they repeat the same day every day. I hate movies where they repeat the same thing every day. I hate anything with a time cycle concept, anything like that. Hate it. So I was not enjoying this, and so I DNF'd it. And honestly, I was going through a breakup, so I have the right to stop reading something that's not bringing me any joy. Usually I'll tough it out. I was not feeling tough that day, so I gave up. And then finally, I have the Hunted Heir, or the Veiled Kingdom and the Hunted Heir. And these books, oh my god, they're so bad. The world building is so ass cheeks. But I'm reading the 3rd one right now, just so I can say that I finished the series. Oh my god. Bro is literally so buns, but I'm still reading it. But I can say that I finished it. Oh my god. That might be one of, like, as a collective, the worst fantasy trilogy I've ever read, just because if I usually don't like the fantasy book, I'm not gonna read the next one. But they're so short that I'm like, might as well tough it out, you know? So the next one will be the first book I finish probably this month. And yeah, that's the 20 books that I read in July and August. I am so proud of myself. I actually have not read that many books in so long. And I'm so glad that I got to share it because I love filming. I love you guys, aka the nobody that watches these, but I just love filming them. And it's gonna be nice to watch this back one day and see how I documented all the books that I'm reading. So yeah, bye.